We all saw Taehyung suddenly walk away, leaving everyone confused. But if you look closer at Jungkook's immediate reaction, it tells a completely different story. Here's what the cameras almost missed. Stop scrolling because we need to talk about what happened when Taehyung walked away. People are speculating, but you need to see Jungkook's reaction before you jump to conclusions. Watch the continuation of this video and don't miss it. This is still our shared opinion and analysis, so feel free to leave your positive comments here. The best comment will be pinned as a way to honor their love. Thank you to everyone who continues to support this channel. May God reward all of your kindness. Purple Heart. This video reflects my personal opinion and interpretation. It is made for entertainment purposes only and does not represent confirmed facts. Before we start, make sure you're ready to love this moments. Welcome to V Effect. No one expected this point. 1 second. Everything looked normal. The cameras were rolling. The atmosphere felt calm. Fans were smiling, waiting for another iconic moment. And then something changed. Without warning, Taehyung suddenly turned and rushed away. No explanation, no glance back. The energy shifted instantly. The crowd froze. Staff looked confused. But what shocked everyone the most wasn't just his sudden exit. It was Jungkook. His expression changed in seconds. The smile faded. His eyes followed Taehyung. And for a brief moment, he looked completely shaken, like he didn't see this coming either. What happened in that exact moment? Was it a misunderstanding or something much bigger behind the scenes? Stay until the end because this story is not what it seems. For a few seconds, no one moved. The sound in the room didn't disappear. It collapsed. Conversations softened into whispers. Cameras kept flashing. But the energy had shifted into something sharp and uncomfortable. He didn't slow down. He didn't look back. It wasn't the kind of exit people brush off, as he probably needed a break. It felt sudden, intentional, almost urgent, and Jungkook knew it. He stood there frozen in place, jaw tight, eyes fixed on the direction Taehyung had just disappeared. He tried to recover quickly, a small nod, a controlled breath, but the camera had already captured it. That split second where his composure cracked. Fans replayed it again and again. Why did Team leave like that? Why did Jungkook look blindsided? Some said it was exhaustion. Others insisted it was a misunderstanding backstage. But the tension didn't come out of nowhere. If you look closely at the moments leading up to it, there were signs. Pause that lasted too long. A glance that didn't meet. A response that felt slightly delayed, subtle but noticeable. Taehyung had been quieter than usual. Not distant but restrained. His usual playful energy was replaced by something more guarded. Jungkook, on the other hand, seemed hyper-aware, watching, adjusting, trying to keep the atmosphere light. Then came that moment. Something was said. Not loud, not dramatic, but enough. T's expression shifted. Not angry, not hurt, but firm. As if he had made a decision in real time. And within seconds he stepped away. No dramatic gesture. No visible argument, just departure. Jungkook didn't follow immediately. That's what made it heavier. He stayed as if weighing whether to maintain professionalism or chase after whatever had just slipped out of control. That hesitation is what shook people the most because hesitation means conflict. Body language experts online began breaking it down frame by frame. The tightening shoulders, the subtle clench of Jungkook's hands, the way T avoided eye contact right before leaving. Was it tension that had been building quietly for weeks? Or was this a private matter that accidentally unfolded in public? What made everything more intense was what happened afterward. Jungkook tried to continue as if nothing had happened. He smiled. He answered questions. He kept his tone steady, but his eyes kept drifting. Not toward the audience, not toward the cameras, toward the exit. And that silent distraction spoke louder than any statement ever could. Backstage reports remained vague. No official explanation. No clarification, just silence. Silence creates theories. Some fans believe it was an emotional overload. The pressure, the expectations, the constant scrutiny. Others think it was something personal between them. Something unresolved that finally surfaced. But here's the part that makes this moment unforgettable. When Taehyung returned later, the energy was different. Not explosive. Not hostile. Controlled. Too controlled. They stood side by side again. But the natural rhythm felt slightly off. Like two people who understood each other deeply, Yet we're navigating something fragile. And Jungkook, he was careful, measured, every movement deliberate, every word chosen, almost protective, almost regretful. Whatever happened in those few unseen minutes changed something, even if only temporarily. And the cameras may never capture the full truth. Because sometimes the most powerful stories aren't in what is said, they're in what's avoided. So the question remains, was this just a fleeting emotional moment under pressure? Or did we witness a crack in something fans believed was unbreakable? Watch closely. The smallest details might reveal more than any official explanation ever will. And what happened after the camera stopped rolling might be the real story no one is ready to talk about. What happened after that moment is where the real tension began. Because when the camera stopped focusing on them, the atmosphere didn't relax. It tightened. Taehyung didn't immediately return to the center of attention. He stayed out of sight longer than expected. Not dramatically long, but long enough for people to notice. Long enough for whispers to grow. Meanwhile, Jungkook carried the weight of the room alone. He answered questions smoothly. He maintained posture. He even laughed at the right moments. But something was missing. The natural ease that usually defines him when Taehyung is around. His responses felt slightly delayed, like his mind was somewhere else. And maybe it was. There's a specific detail fans can't ignore. Jungkook adjusted his earpiece twice during that stretch. A small gesture but unnecessary. Almost like a distraction. Almost like he needed something to do with his hands. When Taehyung finally reappeared, he wasn't flustered. He wasn't visibly emotional. He was composed. Too composed. That kind of composure doesn't come from chaos. Comes from control. From deciding that whatever happened would stay contained. They stood near each other again, not distant, but not as naturally synchronized as before. Their movements no longer mirrored instinctively. Their timing was half a second off. Half a second is all it takes for tension to become visible. Junk glanced at him once briefly as if checking the temperature of the situation. Taehyung didn't avoid him, but he didn't fully meet the gaze either. It wasn't cold. It wasn't warm. It was careful. And careful is not how they usually are. What makes this moment even more complicated is what followed in the days after. There were no public clarifications, no cryptic posts, no dramatic hints, just business as usual. Schedules continued. Appearances proceeded. Smiles returned. But fans started noticing patterns. Less spontaneous interaction. More structured positioning. A subtle shift in who initiated contact. Nothing obvious, nothing headline-worthy, just different. And when things are different between two people who have built years of visible chemistry, the audience feels it instantly. Some believe it was simply exhaustion. Pressure can amplify small misunderstandings into larger emotional reactions. Others believe something deeper was triggered. A conversation that had been postponed too long. But here's what makes the story unfinished. There was one fleeting moment barely noticed by most that changes everything. As the event wrapped up and the final waves were given, Taehyung turned slightly toward Jungkook. Not fully, just enough. And Jungkook responded almost immediately, leaning closer for a split second. Microphones caught it. Clear lip reading possible. But whatever was said caused Tae's expression to soften just slightly. Not dramatically, just enough to matter. That micro-expression tells a different story. Maybe this wasn't an explosion. Maybe it was a boundary. Maybe it was a necessary reset. The public only saw the rush, the shock, the shaken expression. They didn't see the quiet exchange that followed. They didn't see the recalibration. And that's what keeps this moment suspended in mystery. Because the truth might not be scandalous. It might be human. Two individuals under immense pressure. Two personalities navigating expectations, public perception, and private emotion. All while millions analyze every blink. But if it was resolved, why did the energy shift linger? Why did their dynamic feel slightly rewritten in the days after? That's the question no one can answer with certainty. And until either of them chooses to speak, if they ever do, all we have are fragments, expressions, timing, silence. Sometimes the loudest controversies are built on quiet moments. And sometimes what looks like distance is actually something deeper being protected. The real story may not be about conflict at all. It may be about what they chose not to show. And that's what makes this far from over. What made everything heavier wasn't what people saw. It was what followed in the silence and the days after that incident. Nothing exploded. No dramatic headlines. No fallout on the surface. Everything continued as expected. Appearances were professional. Smiles were present. The rhythm of public life moved forward. But when something shifts between two people who are known for their natural connection, the absence of ease becomes louder than any argument ever could. There was a new awareness. Their interactions became slightly more structured. Not cold, not distant, just measured. The spontaneity that once felt effortless now seemed filtered, as if both of them were choosing their reactions more carefully. And that's what caught attention, because when chemistry becomes conscious, it means something happened. Some fans started revisiting older clips, comparing body language, tone, timing. They weren't looking for drama. They were looking for reassurance, proof that nothing had changed. But the truth is, change doesn't have to be negative to feel unsettling. Growth can look like distance before it looks like balance. There were small moments that hinted at something deeper unfolding behind the scenes. During one appearance, Jungkook paused mid-sentence when tongue shifted beside him. It was subtle but noticeable, not discomfort, awareness. During another event, Tim allowed a brief smile to slip when Jungkook spoke unexpectedly. It wasn't forced. It wasn't performative. It was real. And that's where the confusion begins. Because if there was conflict, it wasn't hostility. If there was tension, it wasn't resentment. It felt more like two people recalibrating. Pressure does something unpredictable. It magnifies small misunderstandings. It amplifies unspoken expectations. And when millions of eyes are constantly analyzing your dynamic, even normal human moments can feel amplified. What if the sudden exit wasn't about anger at all? What if it was about overwhelm? Or perhaps something ordinary and private felt heavier under public lights? Words that wouldn't matter backstage can carry different weight in front of cameras. And here's the detail most overlooked. Since that moment, neither of them has avoided standing next to each other. That matters. Avoidance creates distance. Proximity suggests resolution, or at least willingness. There was one particularly quiet interaction that few noticed. During a closing segment at a later event, Taehyung slightly adjusted his position to align closer to Jungkook without being prompted. No grand gesture, no dramatic exchange, just alignment. Jungkook responded with a subtle nod, barely visible but deliberate. These are not the gestures of people unraveling. They are the gestures of people navigating something privately, while protecting it publicly. And maybe that's why this story refuses to settle into a simple narrative, because the public wants clarity. Was it a fight? A misunderstanding? A deeper issue? But sometimes the truth isn't dramatic enough to satisfy speculation. Sometimes it's just two individuals learning how to exist under constant observation, without letting that observation define them.